The sound of Namaste Yoga Studio's door alarm jingled as Nia Simmons rushed in, 15 minutes late for her first day. Her heart pounded with both exertion and anxiety as she spotted a sleek-haired brunette arranging mats in the sunlit studio space. "You must be Lily's new instructor," the woman said, her welcoming smile easing some of Nia's tension. "I'm Laura Matthews, Lily's assistant manager." "I'm so sorry I'm late," Nia said, fumbling with her duffel bag. "My car decided today was a great day to break down halfway here." Laura waved dismissively. "No problem. Lily mentioned you might be running behind. She got your text. Your first class isn't for another 30 minutes anyway." Nia exhaled with relief. At 28, she'd been teaching yoga for 5 years, but starting at a new studio always made her nervous. Especially one as upscale as Namaste, tucked into one of Seattle's trendiest neighborhoods. "Lily's in her office if you want to check in before getting set up," Laura said, gesturing toward the back hallway. Nia made her way to a door marked Studio Director and knocked gently. Lily Matthews looked up from her computer with the same warm smile her assistant had offered. At 35, she exuded both the calm Nia associated with experienced yogis and the sharp attentiveness of a successful business owner. "Nia, come in, come in. Car trouble, huh?" "Yes, and of course it happens today of all days," Nia sighed, sliding into a chair across from Lily's minimalist bamboo desk. "I'm so grateful for this opportunity, Lily. Your studio has such an amazing reputation. And you came highly recommended by Jasmine at River Flow Yoga." "Her loss is definitely my gain," Lily said, her blue eyes crinkling at the corners. "Your vinyasa and restorative classes were her most popular." Nia smiled modestly. She'd built a solid following at her previous studio, but when the owner decided to move to Bali, Nia had found herself unexpectedly job hunting. Landing a position at Namaste felt like fate. "I've scheduled you for 3 classes today, but I understand if that's too much for your first day," Lily said. "No, that's perfect. I'm excited to meet everyone," Nia replied, trying to ignore the lingering anxiety about her car situation. Lily tilted her head, studying Nia's face. "You're still worried about your car, aren't you? How did you get here?" "Uber," Nia admitted. "But it'll be fine. I'll figure something out after classes." Lily shook her head. "Nonsense. My brother's actually stopping by later. He's got a friend who owns a garage." "I'm sure he could help arrange something." Before Nia could protest, Lily's phone buzzed. "Speaking of, that's him now. He's always early." She picked up her phone and typed a quick message. "Come on, I'll introduce you." Nia followed Lily out to the reception area, where a tall man stood examining one of the local artwork pieces displayed on the wall. Even from behind, something about his stance, confident yet relaxed, caught Nia's attention. "Liam, you're early as usual," Lily called. When he turned, Nia's breath caught slightly. Liam Matthews had the kind of face that commanded attention without trying, strong jawline softened by kind eyes the same blue as his sister's, and dark blonde hair just long enough to show a hint of natural wave. He wore simple dark jeans and a navy Henley that somehow looked more polished on him than suits did on most men. "Hey sis," he said, hugging Lily before his gaze shifted to Nia. "And you must be the yoga instructor Lily hasn't stopped talking about." "Nia Simmons," she said, extending her hand and hoping her palm wasn't sweaty. His hand enveloped hers warmly. "Liam Matthews, pleasure to meet you." "Nia's having car trouble," Lily explained. "I thought maybe you could call Marcus. His garage isn't far from here." Liam nodded. "Sure thing." "What happened with your car?" he asked Nia directly. "It just died at a stoplight. Wouldn't restart. It's an older model, so honestly, it could be anything," Nia admitted. "Where is it now?" "I had to leave it on Westlake Avenue. I'm hoping it doesn't get towed before I can figure something out. Liam pulled out his phone. Let me call Marcus right now. He can send someone to take a look before that happens. As he stepped away to make the call, Lily leaned closer to Nia. Don't worry about the cost. Liam and Marcus go way back, and he owes my brother some favors. Oh, I couldn't, Nia started to protest. Consider it a welcome gift, Lily insisted. Besides, Liam's investing in the studio expansion. He'd say it's just good business to make sure our teachers can actually get to work. She winked. Nia's curiosity piqued. He's investing in the studio. Yeah, we're expanding to a second location downtown. Liam's handling the financial side while I manage operations. Lily glanced at her brother with obvious affection. He's got a knack for turning businesses into gold mines. Before Nia could inquire further, Liam returned. All set. Marcus is sending his best mechanic to check it out. If it's something simple, they'll fix it there. If not, they'll tow it to the garage. Thank you so much, Nia said, genuinely moved by the kindness. But please let me pay. Liam waved away her concern. Don't worry about it. Marcus and I have an arrangement. Just text me your car details and exactly where you left it. He handed her his phone to input her number, their fingers brushing briefly. Something about his easy confidence made Nia wonder what kind of arrangement allowed him to call in such favors so casually. I should get ready for my first class, Nia said, glancing at the clock. Good luck, Liam said with a warm smile that reached his eyes. Maybe I'll stick around and see what all the fuss is about. Liam's idea of exercise is walking from his car to his office, Lily teased. Don't let him distract you. Nia laughed. Well, yoga's for everyone, even reluctant beginners. As she headed to the changing room, she couldn't help wondering about Liam Matthews. There was something intriguing about him, something beyond his obvious good looks. Something that made her both curious and cautious. Little did she know, as she changed into her teaching clothes, that the man who just arranged to rescue her car was worth well over $30 million, or that he was already planning to attend her class for reasons that had nothing to do with yoga. Nia took a deep breath as she entered the studio, where 15 students of varying ages and abilities waited on colorful mats. She noticed Liam had slipped into the back row, looking slightly uncomfortable but determined. Welcome everyone, she began, settling onto her mat at the front. I'm Nia, and I'm excited to share this practice with you today. Let's begin by finding a comfortable seated position. As she guided the class through gentle warm-ups, Nia occasionally glanced at Liam, who was clearly struggling with even basic poses but persisting with admirable determination. There was something endearing about watching someone so obviously out of their element trying so sincerely. By the time they reached Savasana, the final resting pose, she noticed Liam had finally relaxed, his chest rising and falling peacefully. When she softly rang the singing bowl to signal the end of practice, his eyes opened with what looked like reluctance. After class, as students rolled up their mats and offered thanks, Liam approached her. That was not what I expected, he admitted with a half-smile that transformed his face. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Nia asked, wiping her brow with a small towel. Good, definitely good, though I discovered muscles I didn't know existed. He rotated his shoulders experimentally. And they are already complaining. Nia laughed. First-time soreness is a badge of honor. It means you were really present in your body. I'm usually more present in my head, Liam admitted. Occupational hazard. What exactly do you do? Nia asked, curious about his cryptic comment. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly. It's Marcus, about your car. Liam had a brief conversation while Nia gathered her teaching supplies. When he hung up, his expression was sympathetic. I'm afraid it's not simple. Alternator's completely shot and there are some other issues. Marcus says it might cost more to fix than the car is worth. Nia's heart sank. Her 10-year-old Honda had been showing signs of age, but she'd hoped to squeeze another year out of it before having to consider a replacement. On a yoga teacher's salary, a new car wasn't exactly in her budget. "I see," she said, trying to mask her disappointment. "Well, I appreciate you arranging the diagnosis. At least now I know." Liam studied her face for a moment. "You have 2 more classes today, right? What time do you finish?" "Around 7:30. "Why?" "I have meetings this afternoon, but I can pick you up afterward and take you to the garage. Marcus will explain everything and you can decide what to do." "Oh, you don't have to. I know I don't have to," he said with a gentle firmness. "But I'd like to help." Something about his directness made it difficult to refuse. "That would be really kind, thank you." "Great. I'll be here at 7:30. He hesitated, then added, "And if you're hungry after, there's a great little place around the corner that makes incredible ramen." Nia found herself smiling. "Ramen sounds perfect after a long day." "It's a plan then," Liam said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He seemed about to say something else when Lily appeared at the studio door. "Liam, I thought you were just dropping off those papers. Don't you have that meeting with the Vancouver investors at 1? He checked his watch and grimaced. "You're right. I should go." He turned back to Nia. "I'll see you tonight. Good luck with your classes." As he left with his sister, Nia couldn't help noticing that, despite his beginner status in yoga, Liam moved with the natural grace of an athlete. There was an easy confidence in his stride that spoke of someone comfortable in their own skin, and perhaps, she thought with growing curiosity, comfortable in many different worlds. The afternoon passed in a blur of vinyasa flows and meditation guidance. By her final class, Nia had built a rapport with several regular students who seemed delighted with their new instructor. Despite the car situation, she felt a growing certainty that Namaste was going to be a good home for her. As promised, Liam appeared precisely at 7:30, dressed now in a tailored charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. The transformation from casual morning visitor to polished professional was striking. "Successful day?" he asked as they walked to his car, a sleek black Audi that somehow didn't surprise her. "Very. Your sister has created something special here. The community feels so supportive." "That's all Lily. She has a gift for creating spaces where people feel welcome," he said with obvious pride as he opened the passenger door for Nia. The interior of the car smelled of expensive leather and subtle cologne. As Liam slid into the driver's seat, Nia noticed his watch, a understated but clearly high-end timepiece. Everything about him suggested wealth managed with taste rather than flash. "So," she ventured as they pulled into traffic, "Lily mentioned you're investing in the studio expansion. Have you always been involved in her business?" Liam navigated through evening traffic with the same easy confidence he seemed to approach everything. "Not directly. I helped with the initial capital when she opened 5 years ago, but she's run it independently since. This expansion is the first time I'm taking a more active role. And when you're not helping your sister expand yoga empires, what do you do?" He glanced at her with an amused expression. "I run a venture capital firm, Matthews Capital. We primarily invest in sustainable technology and healthcare innovations." "That sounds important," Nia said, suddenly feeling like her career teaching downward dog paled in comparison. "It's just another type of work," he said simply. "No more or less important than what you do." "I doubt your investors would agree," she laughed. "Maybe not. But I saw 15 people leave your class this morning looking calmer and happier than when they walked in. There's real value in that." The sincerity in his voice surprised her. Before she could respond, they pulled into a modern auto shop with Marcus Premium Auto Care emblazoned on its glass facade. Inside, they were greeted by a tall man with salt and pepper hair who clapped Liam on the shoulder with familiar ease. "Matthews, twice in 1 month. To what do I owe this honor?" He turned to Nia with a warm smile. "You must be the yoga teacher with the troublesome Honda." "That's me, Nia Simmons. Marcus Delgado, your car's out back. Want to see what we're dealing with?" As Marcus led them through the pristine garage to a service bay where her faded blue Honda sat looking particularly shabby among the BMWs and Mercedes also being serviced, Nia felt a twinge of embarrassment. The contrast between her practical, economy car and Liam's world of luxury was impossible to ignore. Marcus walked them through the diagnosis, confirming what Liam had already shared: the repairs would cost nearly $3,500, well over the car's current value. "I could do it for you," Marcus offered kindly, "but honestly, I'd feel bad taking your money for something that's likely to develop more problems soon. The transmission's showing early signs of failure too." Nia nodded, trying to hide her dismay. "I understand. Thank you for being honest." "What are your options?" Liam asked gently as they walked back to the reception area. "Public transportation for now, I guess. Maybe see if I can find a decent used car once I've saved up a bit more." She forced a smile. "At least Seattle has good buses." Marcus and Liam exchanged a look she couldn't quite interpret. "Listen," Marcus said, "I get trade-ins all the time. Sometimes people just want the newest model and ditch perfectly good cars. I've got a 2016 Subaru Impreza in the back lot, just came in yesterday. Low mileage, excellent condition. Previous owner was meticulous about maintenance." "That sounds nice, but I'm not in a position to buy right now," Nia said carefully. "I'm not suggesting buying," Marcus continued. "What if you leased it? Something affordable monthly until you figure out your next move." Nia hesitated. "I'd need to look at my budget." "Of course," Marcus said easily. "No pressure. Why don't you think about it? I can have it ready for a test drive tomorrow if you're interested." After they said goodbye to Marcus, Liam guided her back to his car. "You okay?" he asked once they were seated. Nia sighed. "Yes, just recalculating my budget in my head, but I'll figure it out." "I'm sure you will," he said with a certainty that lifted her spirits slightly. "Now, how about that ramen? I don't know about you, but I'm starving." The ramen place turned out to be a tiny hole in the wall with only 8 tables and a perpetual line out the door. Liam, however, was greeted by name by the elderly Japanese woman at the counter, who immediately led them to a small table in the corner. "You must come here often," Nia observed as they settled in. "At least once a week. Keiko's son was one of my first investments when I started my firm. She refuses to let me wait in line, no matter how many times I insist." The food arrived, quickly steaming bowls of rich, fragrant broth with perfectly cooked noodles and an array of toppings that made Nia's mouth water. "This looks amazing," she said, inhaling the aromatic steam. "Best comfort food in Seattle," Liam agreed. As they ate, conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Nia learned that Liam had started his venture capital firm 8 years ago after working at a larger investment bank in New York. He'd returned to Seattle, his hometown, wanting to focus on businesses that aligned with his values. "I was tired of making wealthy people wealthier without any real purpose behind it," he explained. "Now I get to help entrepreneurs who are trying to solve actual problems. Like sustainable technology," Nia said, remembering what he'd mentioned earlier. "Exactly. One of our companies is developing more efficient solar panels. Another has created a filtration system that can provide clean water to remote villages using minimal energy." His enthusiasm was contagious, his intelligence evident but never condescending. He asked thoughtful questions about her yoga journey too, listening attentively as she explained how she discovered yoga during college while struggling with anxiety. "It literally changed my life," she told him. "I was pre-med, following my parents' expectations rather than my own desires. Yoga helped me find the courage to choose my own path." "Your parents weren't supportive." Nia stirred her broth thoughtfully. "They came around eventually. They're both doctors, so they had certain expectations, but they can see now that I'm happy." "And financially?" Liam asked carefully. "Is teaching yoga sustainable?" "It's not making me rich," she admitted with a small laugh, "but I make enough to live comfortably. Or I did until car troubles entered the equation." He nodded understandingly. Cars have a talent for disrupting the most carefully planned budgets. By the time they finished dinner, Nia realized nearly 3 hours had passed. The restaurant had emptied with only Keiko wiping down the counter at the front. "I should get home," Nia said reluctantly. "I'm teaching the early class tomorrow." "Of course. Let me drive you." On the way to her apartment in the Fremont neighborhood, Nia directed Liam through the streets she normally drove herself. Her building was a modest mid-century complex, clean and well-maintained, but decidedly unglamorous. "This is me," she said as they pulled up. "Thank you again for everything today. The car helped dinner." "It was my pleasure," he said, his voice genuine. "I enjoyed getting to know you." A moment of silence hung between them, not uncomfortable, but charged with unspoken possibilities. "I'd like to see you again," Liam said finally. Outside of the studio, Nia felt a flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with the excellent ramen. "I'd like that too. How about Saturday, if you're not teaching, that is?" "I teach in the morning, but I'm free after 1. "Perfect. I'll pick you up here at 2. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment a few minutes later, Nia couldn't quite believe the turn her day had taken. What had started with a car breakdown had somehow ended with dinner with an intelligent, attractive man who wanted to see her again. What she still didn't realize was just how successful Liam Matthews really was, or how quickly he was already falling for her. The next morning, Nia arrived at the studio via Uber, having budgeted for transportation until she could solve her car situation. To her surprise, Lily waved her into the office before her first class. "Good news," Lily said with a bright smile. "Marcus called this morning. He's got that Subaru ready for you to test drive, and he's worked out a very reasonable lease option." "That's great," Nia replied, "but I'm still not sure if I can afford it right now." Lily's expression turned slightly hesitant. "Well, Marcus mentioned something about a teacher discount. Apparently, he's offering special rates to Namaste staff as part of our new partnership." "Partnership?" Nia asked, confused. "Yes, we're arranging discounted memberships for his employees, and in return, he's offering our staff preferred rates on auto services and rentals." Lily handed her a folder. "Here are the details. It's really quite reasonable." Nia opened the folder to find a lease agreement for the Subaru at a monthly rate far below what she'd expected, less than half what she'd anticipated. "This can't be right," she said, her brow furrowing as she studied the numbers. Marcus insisted. "Said something about building community relationships," Lily replied, not quite meeting Nia's eyes. "You'd be crazy not to at least test drive it." Something about the situation felt off, but Nia couldn't quite put her finger on what. Before she could question further, Laura poked her head in to remind her that her morning vinyasa class was starting in 5 minutes. "Think about it," Lily urged as Nia hurried to the studio. "Marcus said he can have the car delivered here by the end of your last class today if you're interested." Throughout her morning classes, Nia's mind kept returning to the surprisingly generous offer. By her afternoon break, curiosity had gotten the better of her, and she called the number on Marcus's business card. "Nia, glad you called," Marcus answered warmly. "Lily mentioned you had some questions." "The lease terms seem too good to be true," she said frankly. "I appreciate the gesture, but I don't want special treatment." There was a moment of silence before Marcus chuckled. "Look, I'll level with you. The car's been a challenge to lease because it has some minor cosmetic issues, a few scratches on the driver's side door, nothing mechanical. Most of my usual clients want pristine vehicles." That explanation made more sense. "I see. And this partnership with Namaste." "That part's real," Marcus assured her. "Lily and I have been discussing it for a couple weeks. Your situation just accelerated the timing." He paused. "Why not come by after your classes and see the car for yourself? No obligation." Nia agreed, and by 6 o'clock that evening, she was test driving the Subaru. Marcus had been honest about the cosmetic issues. There were indeed some noticeable scratches along the driver's side, plus a small dent in the rear bumper. But the car drove beautifully, and the price remained remarkably reasonable. "I'll take it," she decided, still feeling like she was getting an unusually good deal but unable to find a legitimate reason to refuse. As Marcus processed the paperwork, Nia noticed a framed photo on his desk of a much younger Marcus with his arm around a teenage boy who looked vaguely familiar. "Is that your son?" she asked. Marcus glanced at the photo and smiled. "No, that's Liam. Must have been about 15 there. His dad, God rest his soul, was my best friend. I've known that kid since he was in diapers." Nia studied the photo more closely, recognizing the same blue eyes and easy smile, though the teenage Liam had been lankier, with longer hair and a slightly awkward stance. "You've known the Matthews family a long time then," she observed. "Oh yeah. Watch those kids grow up. Richard, their dad, died when Liam was 17, but he'd already taught that boy everything about business. Even then, Liam had a mind like a steel trap." Marcus shook his head fondly. "Not surprised he's done so well for himself." "How well?" The question slipped out before Nia could stop herself. Marcus looked at her curiously. "You don't know?" "Know what?" "Matthews Capital is one of the most successful venture firms on the West Coast. Liam's got the golden touch. Nearly every company he's backed has either gone public or been acquired for massive returns." He chuckled. "The kid who used to beg me to teach him to change oil is now worth more money than I can imagine." Nia tried to keep her expression neutral as pieces started falling into place: the expensive watch, the casual way he'd arranged for her car to be checked, Lily's cryptic comments about turning businesses into gold mines. "He's very humble about it," she managed. "Always has been. Richard raised those kids right. Money's just a tool to them, not an identity." Marcus slid the completed paperwork toward her. "All set. The car's officially yours to lease. Take good care of her." As Nia drove her newly leased Subaru home, her mind whirled with this new information. How successful was one of the most successful venture firms on the West Coast? And why hadn't Liam mentioned it? He'd been straightforward about his work, but had somehow omitted the part about being extraordinarily wealthy. And then there was the lease. Was the generous teacher discount actually Marcus's doing, or had Liam arranged it? The timing seemed suspicious now that she thought about it. By the time she reached her apartment, Nia had worked herself into a state of confused irritation. She liked Liam, really liked him, but she had no interest in being anyone's charity case. The thought that he might have secretly subsidized her car lease made her stomach knot. Her phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Hope the car situation worked out. Looking forward to Saturday." She stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Part of her wanted to confront him directly, but another part recognized she might be jumping to conclusions. After all, Marcus's explanation about the car's cosmetic issues was plausible. "Got a great deal on a lease," she finally replied. "See you Saturday." Setting her phone aside, Nia resolved to reserve judgment until their date. She'd give Liam a chance to be forthcoming about himself, and if he wasn't, she'd ask directly. The last thing she wanted was to start any relationship, even a friendship, with unspoken deceptions between them. Saturday arrived with unseasonably perfect weather, clear blue skies and temperatures warm enough for just a light jacket. After teaching her morning classes, Nia returned home to prepare for her date with Liam. As she changed clothes, discarding outfit after outfit, she realized she was more nervous than she'd initially admitted to herself. It had been over a year since her last serious relationship. A 6-month romance with another yoga teacher that had fizzled out when he moved to Portland. Finally settling on dark jeans, a soft emerald sweater, and ankle boots, Nia was applying the finishing touches to her makeup when the buzzer announced Liam's arrival precisely at 2 o'clock. She found him waiting in the building's small lobby, looking casually elegant in charcoal pants and a light blue button-down that made his eyes appear even more intensely blue. He'd brought her a small potted orchid instead of cut flowers, a detail that didn't escape her notice. "I thought this might last longer," he explained, handing her the delicate white plant. "It's beautiful," Nia said sincerely, touched by the thoughtfulness. "I'll just take it upstairs." When she returned, Liam led her to his car. "I thought we might drive up to Whidbey Island for the afternoon, if that sounds appealing. There's a great hiking trail with spectacular views of the Sound, and a little farm-to-table place for dinner after." The suggestion was perfect, active but not strenuous, with the promise of good food. As they drove north toward the ferry, conversation again flowed naturally between them. Liam asked about her classes, genuinely interested in how she structured different sessions for various skill levels. "I've been doing those stretches you recommended for beginners," he admitted. "They've actually helped with the stiffness I usually get from sitting at my desk too long." "Converting you to yoga already, am I?" she teased. "Let's just say I'm more open-minded than I was. Though I doubt I'll ever be able to twist myself into those pretzel shapes I saw some of your students doing." "Those pretzel shapes take years of practice," Nia laughed. "And they're not actually the point of yoga." "No, what is then?" "Presence. Connection between breath, body, and mind." She glanced at his profile as he drove. "It's about being fully in your body, not just living in your head." "Guilty as charged," he admitted. "My mind tends to race 1,000 miles a minute." "What does it race about?" He considered the question seriously. "Work, mostly. Problems to solve, opportunities to evaluate. My brain likes puzzles, finding patterns, understanding systems." "And is that what drew you to venture capital?" "The puzzle of it, partly," he acknowledged, "but also the creative aspect. I get to help people build things that might not exist otherwise." As they waited in the ferry line, Nia decided to approach the wealth question obliquely. "So what makes a venture capital firm successful? How do you measure that?" "Traditionally, by returns on investment," Liam replied. "But I have additional metrics: impact on communities, sustainability, solving real problems rather than just creating the next addictive app." "And by those measures, how's Matthew's Capital doing?" A slight smile played at his lips. "We're doing very well, both financially and by our impact measures." "Marcus seems to think highly of your success," Nia ventured. Liam's hands flexed slightly on the steering wheel, a subtle tell she might have missed if she hadn't been watching closely. "Marcus has known me since I was a kid. He's a bit biased." He called your firm one of the most successful on the West Coast. Now Liam turned to look at her directly, his expression contemplative. Does that bother you? The directness of his question caught her off guard. I'm not sure. What bothers me is feeling like there might be things you're not telling me. Such as whether you arranged that suspiciously affordable car lease. The ferry attendant waved them forward before Liam could respond, and they spent the next few minutes navigating onto the massive boat. Once parked, Liam suggested they go up to the passenger deck for the crossing. Standing at the railing, watching Seattle recede as the ferry cut through the dark waters of Puget Sound, Nia waited for his answer. The wind whipped strands of her hair across her face, and she tucked them back impatiently. I did speak to Marcus about your situation, Liam finally admitted, his gaze still on the horizon. But the lease terms are legitimate. The car does have those cosmetic issues he mentioned, and he does have a new partnership with Namaste. But, Nia prompted, sensing there was more. Liam turned to face her, his expression open. But yes, I asked him to make sure you got his best possible rate. I didn't subsidize it, I wouldn't do that without your knowledge, but I did use our relationship to ensure you weren't overcharged. Nia absorbed this, finding it less problematic than she'd feared. Thank you for being honest, and for not paying for my car behind my back. I would never do that, he said firmly. I respect you too much to undermine your independence that way. The sincerity in his voice eased something in her chest. And the other thing Marcus mentioned, about your success, Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. I've been fortunate. Some early investments paid off extremely well, which allowed me to build a significant fund. Yes, Matthews Capital manages over $1 billion in assets, and yes, that's made me personally wealthy. He studied her face carefully. Does that change things between us? Nia considered the question honestly. I don't think it should, but it does make me wonder why you'd be interested in someone like me. Someone like you. A yoga teacher who just leased a scratched Subaru because she couldn't afford to fix her old Honda, she clarified, trying to keep her tone light despite the vulnerability behind the words. Liam's expression softened. Nia, I'm interested in you because you're genuine. Because you light up when you talk about your work. Because you see value in helping people connect with their bodies and find peace in their minds. He paused. Do you know how rare that is in my world? To meet someone who measures success by how much calm they've brought into other people's lives rather than by the size of their bank account. Put that way, Nia could see his point. I suppose we do move in rather different circles. Exactly. And yours is the one I find myself wanting to be in more and more. He hesitated, then added, I should have been more forthcoming about my financial situation. I apologize for that. It's just, people often change when they find out. They either want something from me or they start acting differently, more guarded or more accommodating. So you were testing me? Nia asked, a hint of sharpness entering her voice. No, he replied quickly. Not consciously anyway, I just wanted to be Liam the person, not Liam the venture capitalist, for a little while. The ferry horn blared, announcing their approach to the island. Below them, passengers began returning to their vehicles. We should head back down, Liam said, clearly concerned that the conversation had taken a difficult turn. As they walked toward the stairs, Nia made a decision. She gently caught his arm, stopping him. For what it's worth, I like Liam the person very much. I just want to make sure he's being real with me. Relief washed over his features. I promise from now on, complete transparency. Good, she said firmly, because I don't care about your bank account, but I do care about honesty. The tension between them dissolved as they returned to the car. By the time they disembarked onto Whidbey Island, The conversation had shifted back to lighter topics, though Nia sensed a new openness in the way Liam spoke, as if a barrier had been removed. The hiking trail Liam had chosen wound through coastal forest before opening to breathtaking views of the Olympic Mountains across the water. They walked at a leisurely pace, stopping often to admire particularly beautiful vistas or interesting plant life. "My dad used to bring us here when we were kids," Liam shared as they paused at a scenic overlook. "He'd point out all the islands and tell us stories about the native tribes who'd lived here for thousands of years. You were close to him?" Nia asked, recalling Marcus's mention of Liam's father passing away. "Very. He was my hero." A shadow crossed Liam's face. "When he died my senior year of high school, it nearly destroyed me. If not for Lily and my mother, I'm not sure how I would have coped." "I'm so sorry," Nia said softly, instinctively reaching for his hand. Liam's fingers closed around hers, warm and secure. "It changed me, made me realize how precious time is, how quickly everything you care about can disappear." "Is that why you left New York? To be closer to family?" He nodded. "Partly, but also because his death clarified my priorities. Dad always told us that a life focused solely on accumulation, money, power, things was hollow. He wanted us to build something meaningful." "Matthew's Capital," Nia supplied. "Exactly. A way to support innovations that might actually improve lives." His thumb traced small circles on the back of her hand, the gesture unconscious but intimate. "Dad would have loved what we're doing now." As they continued their hike, hand in hand, Nia found herself increasingly drawn to this complex man, successful yet humble, driven yet thoughtful. By the time they reached the small farm restaurant for an early dinner, she felt as if she'd known Liam far longer than just a few days. Over locally sourced food served at rustic wooden tables, they shared more of their histories. Nia told him about growing up in Chicago, the daughter of two dedicated physicians who worked endless hours at the city's largest hospital. "They meant well," she explained, "but their idea of success was very narrowly defined. When I switched from pre-med to humanities and eventually to yoga instruction, they were genuinely baffled." "And now?" Liam asked. "Now they've accepted it, though I think they still secretly hope I'll wake up one day wanting to take them a cat." She smiled ruefully. "But they can see I'm happier than I was on their prescribed path." "Happiness is underrated," Liam observed. "Too many people chase external markers of success without ever asking what actually brings them joy," says the extraordinarily successful businessman, Nia teased gently. "Who's constantly reminding himself not to get caught in that trap," he countered with a self-aware smile. "It's easier than you might think to start believing your own press." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in vivid oranges and pinks, they reluctantly agreed it was time to head back for the last ferry. The drive home was comfortable, filled with easy conversation and moments of companionable silence. When Liam walked Nia to her apartment door, there was a palpable current of attraction between them that had been building throughout the day. "I had a wonderful time," she said, keys in hand but making no move to use them. "So did I." Liam stepped slightly closer. "I'd like to do this again, soon." "I'd like that too." He leaned in slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away if she wanted. Instead, Nia closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened with unexpected intensity. His hand came up to cradle her cheek, and she found herself leaning into his touch, her body responding with a warmth that surprised her. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Liam's eyes had darkened to a deeper blue. "Definitely doing that again too," he murmured. Nia laughed softly. "Definitely." With a final quick kiss, Liam reluctantly said goodnight, and Nia entered her apartment feeling lighter than she had in months. As she placed the orchid he'd given her on her kitchen windowsill, she realized she was smiling like a teenager after a first date. Her phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Home safe. Already missing you. Breakfast tomorrow." The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of dates and discoveries. Nia and Liam fell into a rhythm that somehow felt both exciting and comfortable. They explored Seattle's hidden gems together, secret viewpoints, tucked-away restaurants, out-of-the-way bookstores that Liam, despite having grown up in the city, had never discovered. Nia introduced Liam to her world too, bringing him to more yoga classes, where he was slowly, if somewhat awkwardly, improving, taking him to her favorite vegetarian cafes, and sharing the peaceful parks where she sometimes practiced meditation. True to his promise, Liam was now completely transparent about his life, including aspects of his wealth that he'd previously downplayed. Nia was initially intimidated by the casual way he mentioned board meetings with tech giants or investment decisions involving millions of dollars. But she soon realized that this was simply his daily reality, just as teaching warrior pose and shavasana was hers. What impressed her more than his success was how he carried it without pretension or entitlement. His penthouse apartment in downtown Seattle was undeniably luxurious, but tastefully understated. He drove nice cars, but not ostentatious ones. And when they went out, he seemed just as content at a food truck as at a fine dining establishment. One evening, about a month into their relationship, Liam invited Nia to a charity gala benefiting a children's hospital his firm supported. It would be their first formal event together, and Nia found herself uncharacteristically nervous as she prepared. "I have nothing to wear to something like this," she admitted to Lily during a quick coffee break between classes at the studio. Lily, who had been delighted by her brother and friend's blossoming relationship, immediately offered a solution. "Come shopping with me. I need something too, and we're about the same size." That afternoon, they visited several boutiques before Nia found a floor-length emerald gown that fit her perfectly, elegant, but not overly formal, with a modest neckline and subtle beading that caught the light when she moved. "Liam won't be able to take his eyes off you," Lily declared as Nia twirled in front of the mirror. Despite the dress's simple elegance, its price tag made Nia wince. She rarely spent so much on anything, let alone a single item of clothing. "It's an investment piece," Lily insisted, seeing her hesitation. "You'll have it for years." Reluctantly, Nia made the purchase, consoling herself with the knowledge that her budget had been slightly more flexible since eliminating car repair costs. The night of the gala, Liam picked her up in a sleek town car with a driver, a concession to the formal nature of the event, he explained, so they could both enjoy a glass of champagne without worrying about driving. When she opened her door to greet him, his expression of appreciative awe made every penny of the dress worth it. "You look absolutely stunning," he said, his voice slightly rougher than usual. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she returned, admiring his perfectly tailored tuxedo. The gala was held at the Seattle Art Museum, its galleries transformed for the evening with soft lighting, floral arrangements, and strategically placed cocktail tables. As they entered, Nia was immediately aware of curious glances directed their way. "People are staring," she whispered to Liam as he guided her through the crowd with a gentle hand at the small of her back. "Because you're the most beautiful woman here," he replied simply. "Or because they're wondering who you brought instead of Vanessa Hartwell," suggested a stylish older woman who had approached them with a knowing smile. "Hello, Liam dear." "Mother," Liam greeted her with a warm hug before turning to Nia. Nia, this is my mother, Eleanor Matthews. Mom, this is Nia Simmons. Eleanor Matthews had the same striking blue eyes as her children, set in an elegant face that had aged with grace. So you're the yoga instructor I've been hearing so much about. From both my children, I might add. It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Matthews, Nia said, feeling unexpectedly nervous. Eleanor, please. And the pleasure is all mine. Lily says you've transformed her morning classes and Liam. She gave her son a fond look. Well, Liam hasn't stopped smiling in weeks, which I attribute entirely to your influence. Mother, Liam protested mildly, though he didn't deny the observation. As Eleanor excused herself to greet other guests, Nia turned to Liam with a raised eyebrow. Vanessa Hartwell. Liam winced slightly. My date for this event the past 2 years, daughter of a business associate. It was never serious. And yet people expected to see her here with you tonight, Nia observed. People expect all sorts of things, he replied, his gaze steady on hers. I'm much more interested in what I want, which is to be here with you. The sincerity in his voice dispelled any nascent insecurity, and Nia relaxed as Liam began introducing her to various colleagues and friends. To her surprise, she felt comfortable in these interactions, perhaps because Liam consistently highlighted her work as valuable and important, never making her feel like the just a yoga teacher she had feared being perceived as. Later, as they swayed together on the dance floor, Liam held her close enough that she could feel his heartbeat against her chest. Thank you for coming tonight, he murmured against her hair. I know this isn't your usual scene. I'm enjoying myself more than I expected, she admitted. Your mother is lovely. She likes you, Liam said. I can tell. How? She actually asked about your work instead of subtly inquiring about your family background or educational pedigree, which is her usual approach with women I date. Nia laughed softly. I'm not sure my educational pedigree would impress her anyway. Not compared to Vanessa Hartwell, who I'm guessing went to an Ivy League school, Princeton, Liam confirmed with a slight grimace. Followed by Wharton. She's brilliantly intelligent, extremely accomplished, and about as warm as an iceberg. Whereas I'm a state university dropout who teaches people to breathe properly. Liam pulled back slightly to look into her eyes, his expression suddenly serious. You're someone who recognized what actually made you happy and had the courage to pursue it, regardless of external expectations or conventional metrics of success. Do you have any idea how rare and valuable that is? The intensity in his gaze made Nia's breath catch. Before she could respond, he continued, I've dated women with perfect resumes and impeccable connections. What I've never found before is someone who makes me feel the way you do, more present, more genuine, more myself. Liam. I'm falling in love with you, Nia, he said simply, the words hanging between them like a tangible thing. I probably have been since that first yoga class when you somehow made me feel both completely out of my element and perfectly at home at the same time. Nia's heart seemed to expand in her chest, a warm sensation spreading through her entire body. I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered, the truth of it both terrifying and exhilarating. His answering smile was radiant as he pulled her closer, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization to the music. In that moment, the gap between their worlds, his of wealth and influence, hers of mindfulness and modest living, seemed to disappear completely, leaving only two people finding something real and precious in each other. As the evening wound down, they slipped away from the crowd, choosing to walk along the waterfront despite Nia's formal shoes and the slight chill in the air. Liam draped his tuxedo jacket over her shoulders, and they strolled hand in hand beneath the twinkling lights of the harbor. Move in with me, Liam said suddenly, stopping to face her. "I know it's fast, but when something feels this right, why wait?" The unexpected proposal left Nia momentarily speechless. They'd been dating just over a month, a whirlwind romance by any standard. And yet, she couldn't deny that being with Liam felt like finding a piece of herself she hadn't known was missing. "Your place or mine?" she asked finally, a smile tugging at her lips. "Whichever makes you happiest," he replied immediately. "Though I'll admit my place has a better view and is closer to the studio." "And about 4 times the square footage," Nia added wryly. "A minor detail," Liam said, his eyes crinkling with humor. Nia took a deep breath, allowing herself to consider the proposition seriously. "It is fast," she acknowledged, "and there are practical considerations. My lease, for one." "I can handle that," he offered, then quickly added, "not by paying it off, but by finding someone to sublet if you wanted to keep it as a fallback option." The fact that he'd immediately understood her potential concern, not wanting to be financially dependent on him, only confirmed what she already knew. Liam genuinely respected her independence and agency. "Let me think about it," she requested, not because she was uncertain about her feelings for him, but because such a significant life change deserved careful consideration. "Of course," he agreed easily. "No pressure. It was an impulsive suggestion." "But a lovely one," she assured him, rising on tiptoes to kiss him softly. Over the next week, as Nia weighed the decision, she found herself increasingly drawn to the idea. She'd spent enough nights at Liam's penthouse to know she felt comfortable there, despite its luxury. And the thought of waking up beside him every morning, of building a shared life together, filled her with quiet joy. Her only real hesitation came from concern about moving too quickly, potentially sacrificing her hard-won independence for the comfort and security Liam offered. She discussed it candidly with him one evening as they cooked dinner together in his spacious kitchen. "I've worked so hard to build my own life on my own terms," she explained as she chopped vegetables. "I don't want to lose myself in yours, as wonderful as it is." Liam considered this thoughtfully as he stirred the risotto. "What if we approached it as creating something new together, rather than you joining my existing life or vice versa? This would be our home, our routine, our shared space, something neither of us has experienced before." "That's a beautiful way to look at it," Nia acknowledged. "But there's still the practical reality that your resources far outweigh mine. I don't want to feel like a guest in my own home, or like I'm not contributing equally." "Equal contribution doesn't have to mean equal financial input," Liam pointed out. "You bring so much to this relationship that has nothing to do with money. But," he added, anticipating her next concern, "we could structure things so you maintain financial independence. You pay for what you're comfortable with, I cover the rest, and we're transparent about all of it." His willingness to accommodate her concerns while still respecting her autonomy helped solidify Nia's decision. The following weekend, with Lily's enthusiastic help, she began moving her belongings into Liam's now their penthouse apartment. The process of integrating their lives wasn't without challenges. Liam's minimalist, professionally decorated space had to accommodate Nia's more eclectic, personal style. His predictable work schedule sometimes clashed with her variable teaching hours. And there were occasional moments of culture shock when Nia was confronted with aspects of wealth she'd never considered, like Liam's casual mention of his household staff, who came 3 times weekly, or the realization that the artwork she'd been admiring on his walls was original and valuable. But for every small friction, there were countless moments of harmony and discovery. Liam embraced Nia's vegetarian cooking and even adopted some of her mindfulness practices. Nia found herself enjoying the convenience and comfort of their shared life, while still maintaining her own identity through her work and friendships. By the 3-month mark of their relationship, they had settled into a rhythm that felt both exciting and sustainable. Nia continued teaching at Namaste, where Lily had promoted her to lead instructor. Liam's firm was thriving, with several of his sustainable technology investments showing promising results. One rainy Tuesday evening, Nia returned home from an intensive workshop she'd been teaching to find the penthouse transformed. Candles flickered throughout the space, casting warm light on arrangements of her favorite flowers. A trail of rose petals led from the entrance toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline. Following the path, she found Liam waiting, dressed simply in slacks and a sweater, his expression a mixture of anticipation and undisguised love. "What's all this?" she asked, though something in her heart already knew the answer. "I had this whole speech prepared," Liam said, taking her hands in his, "about how you've changed my life in ways I never imagined possible. About how you've taught me to be present in moments instead of always planning for the next one. About how you challenge me to be better while accepting me exactly as I am." Nia's eyes filled with tears as he continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But standing here now, looking at you, all I can think is that I love you more deeply than I ever thought possible, and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you how much." He lowered himself to one knee, still holding her hands. "Nia Simmons, will you marry me?" From his pocket, he produced a ring, not the ostentatious diamond she might have expected, but a delicate band of rose gold set with a single perfect emerald that matched the color of the dress she'd worn to the gala. "It reminded me of your eyes," he explained softly. "And of that first night when I realized I was already falling in love with you." Tears spilled freely down Nia's cheeks now. "Yes," she whispered, then more firmly, "yes, I'll marry you." As he slid the ring onto her finger and stood to pull her into his arms, Nia felt a sense of rightness that transcended all the differences that had initially seemed so significant between them. Their worlds had merged not through compromise or sacrifice, but through the discovery that what they valued most, authenticity, compassion, presence, had been the same all along. Later that evening, as they celebrated with the champagne Liam had optimistically chilled, Nia couldn't help laughing at the unexpected turn her life had taken. "If someone had told me 3 months ago that a car breakdown would lead to me getting engaged to a millionaire venture capitalist, I would have told them they were reading too many romance novels," she admitted. Liam grinned. "And if someone had told me that signing the investment papers for my sister's yoga studio expansion would lead to meeting the love of my life, I might have done it years ago." "So it was fate after all," Nia mused, admiring the way her ring caught the candlelight. "I prefer to think of it as exceptionally good fortune," Liam replied, pulling her close. "The kind that smart investors recognize and seize immediately." "Is that what you did? Seized an opportunity?" she teased. "I recognized a rare and precious possibility for happiness," he corrected gently. "And I was wise enough not to let it slip away." As Nia nestled into his embrace, she silently thanked her unreliable old Honda for breaking down at exactly the right moment, leading her to this unexpected but perfect future with a man who valued her not for what she had or didn't have, but for exactly who she was. 6 months later, Nia and Liam were married in an intimate ceremony at a small family lodge on Whidbey Island, the same place he had taken her on their first real date. Rather than an elaborate affair that might have been expected of someone of Liam's wealth and status, they chose to celebrate with only their closest friends and family, in a setting that held special meaning for them both. Lily, resplendent as maid of honor, had whispered to Nia just before the ceremony. "I knew from the first day you walked into the studio that you were special. I just didn't realize how special you would become to all of us, especially my brother." Eleanor Matthews, who had become a warm presence in Nia's life, had embraced her with tears in her eyes. "Richard would have loved you," she said simply. "You bring out in Liam exactly what his father always hoped he would find: joy in the present moment." The ceremony itself was a blend of traditional elements and personal touches that reflected their relationship. Nia, in a simple but elegant sheath dress, walked down an aisle scattered with autumn leaves to where Liam waited, his expression of wonder and love making her feel like the most beautiful woman on earth. Their vows, written by each of them, spoke of partnership, respect, and the commitment to grow together while supporting each other's individual journeys. When Liam promised to remain present in each moment we share, treasuring the now as you've taught me to do, Nia felt her heart might burst with happiness. After the celebration, a joyful evening of excellent food, heartfelt toasts, and dancing that lasted well into the night, they departed for a honeymoon that embodied their shared values. 2 weeks split between a sustainable eco-lodge in Costa Rica and a meditation retreat in the mountains of Northern California. Upon their return, life settled into a new normal that balanced Liam's business commitments with Nia's expanding role in Seattle's wellness community. With Liam's support and Lily's partnership, Nia had begun developing a teacher training program at Namaste, focused on making yoga accessible to underserved communities. The program, which offered scholarships to promising instructors from diverse backgrounds, had quickly gained attention throughout the Pacific Northwest. When a major wellness publication requested an interview with Nia about the initiative, she found herself in the unfamiliar position of being recognized for her professional achievements rather than as Liam Matthews' wife, a distinction both she and Liam celebrated. "I'm so proud of what you're building," Liam told her the evening after the article was published, showing significant buzz online. "You're changing lives in a real, tangible way." "I couldn't have done it without your support," Nia acknowledged, curled against him on their sofa overlooking the twinkling city lights. "You absolutely could have," he corrected firmly. "Maybe not at this scale or this quickly, but this vision, this impact, that's all you, Nia." His unfailing belief in her not just as his wife, but as a professional with valuable contributions to make, was one of the countless ways Liam showed his love daily. Similarly, Nia's influence had transformed aspects of Liam's approach to both business and life, encouraging him to measure success in terms of well-being and fulfillment rather than just financial returns. Together, they were creating a life that honored both their individual passions and their shared values, a true partnership that transcended the superficial differences that might have kept them apart had either been less open to possibility. 1 year after their wedding, as they sat on the balcony of their penthouse, sharing a quiet breakfast before the day's commitments began, Nia placed her coffee cup down with unusual deliberation. "I have some news," she said, a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her voice. Liam looked up from the investment report he'd been reviewing, immediately giving her his full attention. "What is it?" "I'm pregnant," Nia said, her hand instinctively moving to her still flat stomach, "about 8 weeks along." Liam's expression transformed from surprise to wonder to pure joy in the span of seconds. "We're having a baby?" he asked, as if needing confirmation of what he'd just heard. When Nia nodded, he was out of his chair in an instant, kneeling beside hers to place his hand gently over hers. This is amazing," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Are you happy? How are you feeling?" "Happy, scared, excited, all of it," Nia admitted with a small laugh. "Mostly happy, though, especially seeing your reaction." "I love you so much," Liam said, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "Both of you." That evening, they shared the news with Lily and Alina over dinner, receiving enthusiastic responses that confirmed what Nia already knew: their child would be welcomed into a family bound not just by blood, but by genuine love and support. As the months passed and Nia's pregnancy progressed, she continued teaching modified classes and overseeing the teacher training program, while Liam adjusted his typically demanding schedule to be present for important appointments and milestones. They transformed one of the penthouse's spare rooms into a nursery, working together to create a space that was both beautiful and functional. Liam, revealing a previously undiscovered talent for woodworking, crafted a stunning crib with his own hands, a labor of love that moved Nia to tears when he revealed the finished piece. "My father made Lily's and mine when we were born," he explained, running his hand over the smooth maple. It felt right to continue the tradition. 7 months into the pregnancy, during a routine scan, they discovered they were having a daughter. The knowledge that they would soon welcome a little girl into their lives added a new dimension to their preparations and anticipation. "She's going to have your strength and compassion," Liam predicted one night as they lay in bed, his hand resting on Nia's rounded belly. "And your intelligence and determination," Nia added, covering his hand with hers. "Poor kid," Liam chuckled. "She's going to have quite a legacy to live up to." Nia turned slightly to look at him. "No," she said firmly. "She's going to have the freedom to discover her own path, just as we both eventually did. That's the real legacy we're giving her." Liam's expression softened with love and understanding. "You're right, as usual. And that's the greatest gift we could offer: the permission to define success on her own terms." When their daughter arrived on a crisp autumn morning after a challenging but ultimately uncomplicated labor, they named her Olivia Rose Matthews. Olivia for Liam's father Richard's mother, and Rose for the flowers that had lined the path to their engagement. Holding their newborn daughter between them, exhausted but exhilarated, Nia and Liam exchanged a look of profound connection and shared wonder. "Thank you," Liam whispered, gently touching Olivia's tiny hand. "For this, for everything." "Thank you for seeing me," Nia replied softly. "Really seeing me from that very first day." As their daughter's tiny fingers wrapped instinctively around Liam's finger, Nia reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought them to this moment. From a chance meeting precipitated by a broken-down car to the creation of a family built on mutual respect, shared values, and deep love, their story had unfolded in ways neither could have anticipated. What had begun as two people from seemingly different worlds had transformed into something beautiful and unexpected: a partnership that celebrated their differences as complementary strengths rather than obstacles to overcome. And as little Olivia opened her eyes, already showing hints of the same striking blue that marked the Matthews family, Nia knew with absolute certainty that the greatest wealth in her life had nothing to do with Liam's financial success, and everything to do with the love they had built together, one mindful moment at a time.